An ordinary evening, but then an unexpected scene occurs. A guy walks along the corridors and sees a girl who is stuck in the wall in a rather piquant pose. The young man seeing this sight does not understand what is happening. We see a lot of knights. They are heading into the house. Inside the house lies a guy named Blam Dilmond. Next to him lies a sword. This sword was given to him by the kingdom. Just 6 months ago, he killed the demon lord and saved the world. Everything seemed fine, but someone knocks on his modest abode, declaring that they don't care about his ciphers. The main character says that if they want to come in, they can. A beautiful girl comes in, who identifies our main character by name. He confirms his name by asking his companion what she wants, also making a joke in her direction that he doesn't remember ordering anyone. The girl gets angry, telling him not to play dumb. She says with firm intention that he was a great hero, and now he is an enemy of the kingdom and must die in the name of the king. The girl screams at him to prepare to die. He simply ignores her. He simply looks at his sword and thinks to himself, how many times does it take? Blam takes the sword out of its sheath. The girl is angry at him. Because of this, he doesn't pay attention to her. Taking out the sword and pointing it to the side, he says, shine. He says the name of the attack, piercing the spear of light, as if telling him to pierce. The guy's power is really impressive. The girl was amazed. The blow was so strong that the house was destroyed, and the attack reached the knights who were waiting behind the house. The girl did not have time to come to her senses, as everything was destroyed before her eyes. The guy gets into a pompous pose, throws the sword over his shoulder, and tells her to look at him more often if she wants to fight him. The girl, despite the strength she just demonstrated, says that she will kill him. She takes out the sword and is ready to strike. The guy just smirks, and then a sharp swing of the sword, a blow. Blam easily parries the girl's blow. He then tells her that she has spirit, but clearly lacks experience. The brunette's sword rushes towards the girl's face. The girl kneels down. She is already crying. Blam says that he spent his whole life killing demons. It didn't matter to him whether they were women or children. She asks for mercy. Telling Blam to wait, she tries to get away from him, but he still hasn't removed the sword from her side. The boy states that she started it. Begging him is clearly not useless, adding that it's her own fault and she is in a very vulnerable position right now. The girl is in a panic. She sits in fear, being in a rather piquant pose. The guy's face was unusually stern. First he asks if she is a knight, and if she rose to this title, then she was probably ready. The guy hints that now he will slap her. He says that she should have prepared for her death, which is now inevitable. Blam holds his sword around her eye, and the girl just sheds tears. It's just pitiful to look at her. After the stress she experienced, the girl wet herself. The guy was taken aback. He felt disgusted. But the following happens, something the girl could not expect. He reminds her that he is no longer the same as before, refusing to kill her. The girl lost consciousness from shock. The guy was not at all surprised by this. He says that only half a year ago he fought with a demon, but now he has come to the point where he scares girls and makes them pee. He thinks about it, because this is clearly not what a hero should do. The guy leaves the scene, thinking that now they know about this place. However, for him it was clearly not a problem, but what will he do now? For some reason, the king gave the order against our hero. They will not calm down as long as he is on the territory of the kingdom. Blam is thinking about banishing himself from these places. He also adds that having the status of a hero, he will be involved in politics everywhere. This status only gets in the way and brings only problems. After thinking a little more, the guy realized that the right decision would be to leave the continent, and he heads to the port. But on the way, he still hesitates, because it will be very difficult. He wonders what other safe places are. On the map, there is only a kingdom. Then comes the empire. And also on the map is written a place far away from the continent. But on the map, it is not depicted in any way. Guy had to make a choice. An idea comes to him. What if he goes to the place where the demon lord was hiding? An underground labyrinth. The guy thinks that this is the only place where someone like him can be calm. A place that was created by the demon lord. He says that even if it's sarcasm, it will be hard to guess. The guy is going down a huge staircase. He had a feeling like he was being eaten. If this dungeon was a demon, then our main hero would clearly be an idiot who jumped into its mouth himself. However, Blam didn't think about it when he first came there. He looks up, remembering his friends. When he first came there, he wasn't alone. Viola, Noah, and Elle were with him. A pretty good group. I hope the last one is actually a guy, if not a girl, with a short haircut. The guy smirks, succumbing to memories. But after a few seconds, his face becomes serious, and his gaze is directed to the labyrinth. He used to conquer this dungeon with the help of his friends. This labyrinth is really terrifying, because it is full of vagrants and demons trying to kill him. Blom went down to the very bottom. He enters the most dangerous place. If you are not careful, you can easily die. Unexpectedly, the brunette is noticed by someone unknown. A character in a black cloak appears before us. He says that he was waiting for the hero to arrive. Behind him is a girl. At first glance, she looks like a maid. The unknown person addresses her by name, Irene. He asks her if she is sure that it is him, to which she gives a positive answer and calls him master. The main character wanders through the labyrinth. He climbed to the 5th floor, using his sacred sword as a torch to light his way. Once again, we see the scene that was at the very beginning. A girl stuck in a wall. The guy naturally wonders what is going on here. He sees some small bugs, noting that other than them, there are no signs of hostile demons. Our hero notices someone's presence behind him. Turning around, he saw a girl in a maid's costume. She asks him if he is Blam Dillman. Now we see little Blom, who was given a knife, ordered to kill a little rabbit. The boy is crying. It is obvious that it is hard for him to do this. Seeing the maid, the main character wondered if she was a demon. He became curious about what she was doing on the lower floors. He was also curious to know who managed to get stuck in the wall in such a way. He assumed that perhaps it was an adventurer who was looking for minerals or expensive things in the wall. Watching the stuck girl, the guy is surprised because he has never seen such traps before. What kind of maniac could come up with something like this? Blam thinks. The little monsters next to him seem strange because the victim is right in front of them and they don't even think of attacking. If you think about it, the demon appears on the 5th floor. His gaze falls on the newly arrived maid. Who is she? Besides, the girl knew his name. Blam decided to try to get her to talk. He answers her question, confirming that he is Blam Dillman. It turned out that the girl had fallen asleep, which puzzled our hero. She pronounces his name in a sleepy voice, but then she finally deigned to raise her eyes. The girl tells Blom that his thoughts are long, so she decided to take a nap. The guy was discouraged, but when he came to his senses, he wondered who she was. The heroine notes that this question makes no sense, because he sees her wearing a maid's costume, and yet the girl introduced herself as Irene. She looked like a pretty serious lady. The guy once again asked what she wanted from him. He was asking himself a lot of questions in his head, because it really wasn't every day that you could meet a demon dressed as a maid. The girl replies that she learned his name from her master and was told to find him. The guy was scared by her words and the way she called her boss. The guy was worried. The only one who came to his mind was the demon lord, but he was sure that he killed him. He was brought out of his thoughts by the maid, who was bored with the guy's slow thoughts. The girl tells him that it's useless, and for him to be honest with her, she doesn't need problems. She tells him that sometimes you just need to relax and go with the flow. She holds out her hand, offering to take him to her master via teleportation. After thinking for a bit, the guy decided to trust the girl. Blam carefully asks her if she can tell who her master is. However, the girl states that she does not know the answer to this question. The guy was perplexed, because how can you serve someone you know nothing about? The guy takes her hand, the girl says magic words, and it looks like they are about to teleport to the right place. And now the magic has started to work? Blam was amazed by what he saw, wondering if this is really one of the demon's abilities, magical teleportation without direct pronunciation. The girl stood in a stupor, saying that she could not teleport without direct pronunciation, which surprised the guy very much. After all, she had just called a magical teleport, but then she declared that the magic did not work. This puzzled the girl very much, because it was her special ability. The guy suggested that she pour more magic power. Blam suggested that this was possible due to high resistance to magic. Agreeing with our hero, she tried again, but this time, using apparently more magical power. She concentrated, pouring in a huge amount of magical energy. This time the spell worked. The guy moved and saw a throne that he immediately recognized. Memories flooded him. Could this really be the same place where he and the demon lord fought? The guy was alarmed. Finally, he heard that same gentleman. Apparently Irene was addressing her master. She was reporting to an unknown person. The guy turned around. He was interested in who was in front of the maid. A hooded man approaches him and addresses him as if he were his best friend. He greets him, asks how he is doing, and says that they haven't seen each other for a long time. All this shocked the guy. However, apparently our protagonist recognized this voice, and he immediately said his name. It was Elva Arcanum Royce, the very friend with whom Blam had traveled before. It was his best friend, and also his former partner, the mage of the Savak Empire court, the one who helped the guy fight the demon lord. El asks about the boy's holy sword. He replies that even though the Demon Lord is long gone, he cannot give up his sword. Elsa tells Blam why he can't return to the king's treasury, all because of one old man's mistake. Now everyone thinks the guy is a villain. El adds that he wishes things were different. He said that the Empire was after him, and he had no choice but to settle here, noting that it looks like our protagonist is in the same situation. Blam felt uneasy from hearing this. He knows his friend very well, but because of these extraordinary circumstances, everything turned out this way. Al also tells of his adventures, where he used the Empress and Princess at the same time, to which Blam replies, "It is not a matter of extraordinary circumstances, but of extraordinary desire." They were on the 23rd floor of the Demon Lord, in Al's private room. Blam's friend was feeding some flying monsters with a smile on his face, asking them to eat more carefully. Blam wondered if they were little demons. El nodded. He explained that he used them as carrier pigeons, finding them quite cute. The boy convinced his friend that these little demons were not poisonous. Changing the subject, the conversation turned to Blam's future fate. The guy himself doesn't know what to do in this situation. The blonde man was sympathetic to his old friend's desperate situation, concluding that the guy had no specific goal. He encouraged Blum by offering a crazy idea. El Nakan assures that this place is unreachable for the Empire and Kingdoms, so he suggests that Blam create his own paradise here. Blam grins, taking his friend's words as a joke. However, El stops, seeing that his friend does not take his words seriously, and replies that his idea is absolutely real. Which makes our protagonist a little taken aback. The guy comes closer to his friend. Blam has only a questioning look on his face. He asks Eltik if this is really possible, to which the blonde only smiles. El tells him that they have a lot to do to achieve the result. They will have to think about traps and monsters, since they are regenerating themselves. The blonde decides that it is best to show the problem they are looking up. He explains what it is. The thing is that it is the main energy furnace, the heart of the dungeon. The magical conduits that carry magic throughout the continent begin in this furnace. This instrument collects the magical power that the continent creates, compresses it, and stores it here. El says that it gives magical energy to power the entire dungeon, including monsters and traps. Blam understands what his friend is talking about and explains, "In short, you are going to build everything here with the help of this thing." El replies that yes, that's exactly it. The guy said that the first time he came here, everything was in ruins, but when he used the power of the dungeon heart, he restored the upper floors. He also added that he adjusted everything to suit his needs. The main character was skeptical about this statement, remembering what he was doing here. During the story, Elkani thinks that the Demon Lord also used him earlier for his own needs to gain power. Now Blam realized where his power came from, and that now they can use the heart of the dungeon in this way. El says that they can't use it for that purpose at the moment. The magic is almost liquid now, and its frequency is too high to use. All this happened because the magic on the continent increased. The Demon Lord controlled all of this with his special ability. El says that he will be able to learn this skill with time. Blam is a little taken aback, realizing that if this ability was created by the Demon Lord, then only one can learn this saving ability. They respond to Irene's voice, who says that she will be the one who can learn this skill, the former servant of the Demon Lord. Then Irene sees a casual dialogue with El. The blonde guy says what's wrong, and she's like, "What, Kaimi?" And they continue to freely discuss the affairs of the dungeon, which discouraged Blam. Irene then explains to Blum that she has no evil intentions. Back when she served the Demon Lord, she was just a slave, and she is grateful that they killed him. She also states that a creature like her could not harm them, to which the protagonist says to her, "Weak? When I met you, I did not even notice you." He explains to her that he noticed her only when she was close. Irene replies that anyone can do that. You just need to skillfully control the magic of teleportation. Guy was somewhat thoughtful. He felt that something was wrong here. Blumma's friend continues to speak. He states that even if he learns this ability, he will not be able to use it because this magic was created by the Demon Lord. He will have to undergo some training first so that he can use it. Listening to all this, our protagonist could not shake off the bad feeling. The magic was evil, so to use it, negative emotions are needed. The hero was surprised. To use this spell, negative feelings are needed? Jill confirms this, saying that it is an integral part of the spell and that such things are mandatory. Such an ability is worthy only of the Demon Lord. Al's friend, a short blonde man, says that feelings have energy, especially when it comes to magic. The Demon Lord knew this and so he created this ability. This dungeon gives the opportunity to get a large amount of magical minerals by seducing people with them and catching them in his traps. L continues his story and of course his plans. He says that then we create magic minerals again and repeat the cycle ad infinitum. Elk says, smiling, but seriously, he created the perfect scheme and no one noticed. The demon lord was well aware of the greed of people. Blam realizes the reality that, thanks to the existence of humans, gave him the power to become a demon lord. He felt bad that we were used by him without even noticing it. Li says if it weren't for the power of the holy sword, both sides would have fought forever without losing their strength. He also says that the fact is that he has the ability to make this artifact his own. L is pleased with what is happening, because the minds of people have not changed at all since the death of the demon lord, as if everything was prepared for all this to fall into the hands of the blonde. Al is incredibly happy. He is already in anticipation, thinking that his search for the perfect material has led him to this place. Moreover, if he manages to repeat everything correctly, he will get his own paradise. L points his finger at his friend, stating that if he is on his side with his holy sword, he can have his own eternal paradise. The blonde boy extends his hand to his former partner with a smile on his face, telling him if his offer isn't tempting, and also wonders if they follow this plan, won't they become like the demon lord. But L, with a serious expression, tells Blam if he thinks he wants to do the same as the demon lord. He offers him a deal. After a handshake, the contract will be made, and if after that he feels like he is doing something wrong, he will die immediately. Al says that if we have clarified that, then we can start solving our problem, to which Blum smiles, accepting his offer. Blum never doubted his friend. He agrees to the deal with him and shakes his hand. Blum thinks that this world has never been kind to him anyway, noting that it will probably be fun to follow his plan. They look at each other with smiles on their faces. The contract is made. That evening, Blum drank very tasty tea, and she was so happy with this tea that she received unspeakable pleasure, making sounds from the pleasure of this drink. This tea was a gift from Al. He encourages those who are honest with him. Such a delicious tea with Irin was a kind of incentive that he and his holy sword would be on his side. The blonde boy was prepared for all serious situations, and he prepared himself thoroughly. A short history of Irene Crown. She is a specialist in the field of teleportation magic, and for this same reason she spent her entire life in captivity. And so she became the demon lord's slave, and she thought that she would finally be free, but it was not to be. He just always kept her close to him. But one day, the hero defeated the demon lord, and she became free. However, without the demon lord's magic, she lost the ability to teleport to the dungeons. She wondered what she should do now. After all this, she just sat in the corner of the demon lord's mansion. One day, someone came, and it turned out that it was the hero's assistant who helped defeat the demon lord. She was horrified when she saw him, because she thought he came to kill her. After a long rest, Irene lay in bed after sweet tea. She was beautiful. I wonder if this scene after tea with Blam or Al. I think with Blam. Our main character seemed to have taken a wrong turn, because here it is, clearly written, former hero. What will his adventures in the dungeon lead to? Waking up, we understand that the girl was drinking tea with Blam all night. She thinks that she did it not only to gain trust, she wanted it herself, because Blam is a hero. She remembers how it all happened. She herself offered him tea, because her delicious and sweet tea is all she has. Drinking tea with Blam was her own desire. After that, she spent a wonderful night of tea with him. She claims that for her, he is not like Al. It was her own decision to try such a relationship with him. She probably drank tea with Al before, but it was not she who took the initiative. She blushes, remembering the previous night. Ida remembers her new friends, thinking that she has never experienced anything like this before, especially with such interesting people as L and Blum. I wonder what she is talking about. The atmosphere in general, or the tea party? It sounds really ambiguous. She has never experienced anything like this with them, and she remembers all this specifically after the tea party with Blam. What do you think? The blonde guy puts his hand on his chest and says that he swears. Blam stares at him in shock, thinking, is this some kind of ritual of the Savak Empire? L pronounces his name as befits a cool knight, and swears that he will never create conflicts with Irene Crown. He hints that the guy will no longer drink tea with her, and now she is only his, and adds further that the defense mechanisms used in the dungeon, they will be made in a form that Blam finds acceptable. Blam beams. Blam also takes Al's offer very seriously, and he takes the Imperial salute and says that he, Blam Dilmond, accepts this contract. He says with a serious expression that he swears that as long as L keeps his word, his sword will not touch his neck. They laugh about the whole situation. apparently making vows to each other. They find it hilarious. They reminisce about some of the events. L says it was almost like the first time they were here, and Blam bursts out laughing and reminds him that he wanted to do that before the fight with the Demon Lord. Al says that now it's a different place, and he can't make the same mistakes as before. And he gives an analogy. It's like fighting over a prostitute, and the one who moves first loses. It's funny that when these words are spoken, a seductive maid comes in. The guys laugh at the whole situation, and at the fact that they took the contract so seriously. Irene, seeing all this, thinks that something is wrong with them. El Kai, noticing Ada behind Blom, says that since everyone is gathered, they need to get down to business. He says that their goal now is to arrange a comfortable and safe stay here. Bloom says that they must be prepared for any attack from the outside. Els Quiney points out that this is true, a reminder that the Empire is also looking for him. No one is looking for Irene, but since she is a demon, she automatically becomes their enemy. He explains that this is why the defense mechanisms are necessary for our safe living, but the only problem is that the dungeon has not fully recovered. Al explains further that the dungeon must become powerful enough to keep powerful guys like Viola and Noah out. Some flying monsters fly up to our guys, shouting, "Master!" The little monster says that an intruder has entered their territory and says that it is a female ninja. Al notes that this is all so untimely, but adds that it can be said and not bad. After all, Al has the opportunity to show Blam what they will have to do. The blonde grins slyly and ominously. He says that he will show him all the horrors of this dungeon. After these words, Blam has a bad feeling. Meanwhile, on the dungeon of the 7th floor, we see a girl. Her name is Sozut Renzinik, and she is a self-proclaimed adventurer. She got trapped, and now she is sitting in a very piquant pose, thinking about what she screwed up and that she should have been more careful, concluding to herself that apparently this floor is beyond her strength. Blam wonders if this is a sacrifice. El confirms his words. She explains to Blam that they will use the energy of the invaders to accumulate negative energy for the dungeon. Blam wonders how they will do this. El replies that there is a method that the Door demons used, simply killing them. However, he states that this method is completely absurd and ineffective, and so Al chose a completely different strategy. He introduces a fighting slug. He says that this slug can't kill, and also that it loves sweat and dirt. Blam just asks in shock, "Slug strategy?" Blondie confirms his words. The blonde guy picks up the slug, goes to the edge of the dungeon, and simply throws the slug down. The blondie says that she tried so hard to get to the 7th floor and must have sweated a lot during that time. We hear the girl screaming. She doesn't understand why the slime is getting under her clothes. She screams, "Stop!" El decides that they will leave them alone for now, and he asks Irene to make some tea, but regular tea, not the one you thought of. The girl says of course, and immediately goes to make some tea. Then we see a terrible picture. An embarrassed girl is being tortured, and tortured harshly. The slug actively gives tea to the poor ninja girl, saying that it is not necessary. She does not want tea. Meanwhile, Blam asks El, and this is definitely what will help us accumulate negative energy. Blam says that yes, of course it will help. Shame and humiliation are also negative feelings. In addition, this is more effective since they are caused regularly. The most important thing is to make her heart give in. The process of tea canalization gives more energy. The more tea she drinks, the more energy we get. Blonde, seeing the process of tea canalization together with Blam, says, "Well, as you see, the slime slowly solders her with tea, thereby dominating for days, making this process long and wonderful. Humiliation and shame wins her heart." Blam adds that this will of course take longer than if they use the Demon Lord's method, but the amount of energy released will undoubtedly be greater. By the way, judging by the approving sighs, the girl begins to like drinking tea with slime. And what do you think? The girl sits and cries. Because she understands what terrible things were done to her, they gave her tasteless tea, while she came here for tasty, although the one that Irene received. From the burden of everything that is happening, she screams, "Ah!" Al is looking for something in his pockets. He quickly finds what he needs and shows some kind of magic box, saying that this is where he keeps negative energy. He opens it, and the box absorbs the negative emotions from the ninja girl who just drank some bad tea. That's how Blondie gets magic energy. El Guy is surprised that there is a lot of negative energy. It seems that she experienced great shame and disgrace. Then, El Guy breaks the fourth wall and says, addressing the audience, that if you want to know more about what happened to her, read the novel. Even Blam stands at him and looks at him with a questioning look on his head. Al says, "Well, how's the process for him?" Noting that he won't have to clean up corpses, and most importantly, that it satisfies his fetishes. Blondie always dreamed of a place like this. He stood in an elegant and pompous pose. Putting 2 fingers on his forehead, he smiled. Blum and Irene looked at him in shock, not even knowing what to say. Meanwhile, a warrior named Hilda Lawrence got trapped in a dungeon, and now she is forced to experience severe shame, drink tasteless tea, monsters do whatever they want with her. Because her hands are tied with shackles, she drinks tea and sighs indignantly, or not indignantly, but nevertheless, Hilda was so beautiful. She drank this tea so elegantly and colorfully, any guy would want to be in the place of the monsters who treated her to tea. From such a tasteless tea, the girl fell unconscious. At the same time, Blam comes up and says that the monsters did a good job of their task, the process of tea making. Our main character opens the box, collecting negative energy in it. 10 days have passed since he came to the dungeon. Blam is learning to collect negative energy from guests. Right now, he is starting to get used to living here. The guy tells Irene that let's take the girl to the entrance, to which the maid replies that it is boring. But then, her face changes, and she says that she was joking, saying let's go do it, even if it is boring. LL jokes about himself that he has already assumed the title of a former hero who lives in a dungeon. He wonders what he is even doing here. There is a conversation between Elle and Ada. She says that she uses teleportation. Blam thinks that already, and asks her to wait. However, she still uses her signature magic. Having teleported to the 25th underground floor of the dungeon, they are met by Al, who is wearing kitchen clothes and holding fresh baked goods, which he apparently made himself. He tells the guys that they worked hard. Blondie just got everything ready for dinner. He says that today they have a feast because they were able to replenish the supply of ingredients. Blam asks, what does replenish mean? After all, he knows that with the magic crystals that they collect here, there is no need to buy anything. El confirms his words. Blam eats meat, while the maid is unhappy, telling him that he needs to wash his hands first and say thank you for the food. After a little while, there are only scraps of crumbs left on the table. Apparently, everyone has already eaten everything. Blam sat down contentedly in his chair, saying that he was full, and thanked his friend for the food, who responded that you are always welcome. Blam asks his friend how the work is going. If everything is going smoothly, he takes the box in his hands. Our main character says, "What did we get?" The blonde guy was shocked when he opened the box. Elle comes close to Blam holding his hands and says, "That's amazing. His friend has exceeded all his expectations." He says with this energy we will be able to process a large amount of magical energy, and says that it's time to immediately take advantage of this opportunity to immediately level up. Blam asks about leveling up. He doesn't understand what his friend is talking about, and El Shai answers, "Isn't it obvious?" Meanwhile, footsteps are heard in the dungeon. A certain girl came to drink tea. She had long black hair. The monster had already spotted her, preparing his skillful tea. He explains that among the darkness of the reckless gods, your sacrifice is here. He tells him to eat it so that the dungeon will eat the energy he has acquired, telling him to stay with them. When opening the box, the collected negative energy is directed into the heart of the dungeon. During the absorption process, El seems to recite a spell. Immaculate creations, naive beings, innocent creatures, and outstanding beings, paint them all in endless darkness. And then, in a firm and decisive tone, he says, "Darkness, come to us." From all this, beads of sweat flow down Blam's face, while the heart of the dungeon is painted in a dark, ominous color. Al says it would take about 2 months. But thanks to Blam, it's only been occupied for 10 days. Our protagonist looks at it all, saying that it has taken on some ominous color, thinking if he should really use it. Lanel says, "You ask me that pure and beautiful magic is not suitable for vulgar people." He replies that if the magical energy is even a little bit corrupted, he cannot use it. Also wondering how much needs to be done to turn this place into a paradise. As long as they continue to restore this place, to turn this place into a paradise, how to say the percentage of traps that are no longer working is quite a lot. On the 20th floor and what is next to it. But all this can be fixed. Suddenly, Al collapses from exhaustion. He apologizes to Blam that he was busy developing traps all night, and that is why it happened that he did not sleep. He looks at his friend, realizing that this is a skill that the Demon Lord himself created, and of course there is a risk when you use it. He thinks that it can't be that a mage of such a level as El Khad doesn't know about it. Telling him that he is hopeless, he offers his help to his friend, because he can't stand on his feet at all, El thanks Blom for his help. And what's more, El Thayan said that he wants to turn this dungeon into paradise. He looks at his friend and wonders why someone who is basically a hedonist would go so far. He thinks about that incident with El Ka drinking tea with 2 girls. Whether it's true or not, but surely the Empire won't persecute him just like that. Something else happens. Blam jokingly tells his friend that he will reward him properly later. The latter asks him not to be so strict with him. Our main character is convinced that a magician serving the Empire will not run away without any reason. Ida teleported to their chambers. She calls out to her friend's master and Blam herself. She says that she received a report from the guard, saying that there are intruders. But suddenly she is interrupted, saying that Elu is ill. Asking him about it, the blonde replies that everything is fine and she can continue reporting information. She says that it looks like uninvited guests. They came from more than just magic materials. And then we see someone say, "Oh flame, rise up and paint my sword scarlet." We see a girl who looks like Elsa from the anime fairy tale. Fury Espada? Did she escape to this work straight from Bleach? Being a former Espada died and was reborn here? It is worth noting that her fire sword looks very impressive. The demons of the upper floors all disintegrate with one blow under the onslaught of this red-haired Fury, and she only grins ominously. They reach the 10th floor without even noticing. All the monsters fall under her burning sword of flame and are burned in the blink of an eye. The pretty girl says that her name is Catleya-sama, and that they expected nothing less from her. Catleya tells the girl that whenever they are on a mission, she should call her commander. The girl, whose name is Thora, apologizes to her. But the girl turns around and with a charming smile tells her, "Thank you," because the fact that she admires her makes her happy. And she says, apparently the plan to them, again, calling them by name, apparently Cattle Playa Blonde. The first girl's name is Tora, the other Mia, and Kate. She says decisively, "Let's defeat the hero." And Cattle Playa is just beautiful and delightful. In the next chapter, a squad consisting entirely of beautiful girls heads to Blam and the others. The girls have reached the 13th floor. Catleya is ahead of everyone. Mia Curtis, a low-ranking knight of the Kit Kingdom, says that the elder sister's dedicated sword is simply amazing. But she is corrected by another low-ranking knight named Kate Keith that she named the sword incorrectly, and it is called the Enchanted Sword. Reproaching her, she is not tired of constantly making the same mistake, but Mia says that the sword is generally careless, to which she objects, saying that this is completely wrong. They argue with each other. The latter says, since she can't remember the name of the sword, why not call it a magic sword? But she objects. Isn't the enchanted sword cooler? But Kate corrects her by shouting, "Enchanted." Tora Historia intervenes in their conversation, telling them not to argue. She is also a low-ranking knight. The girl reminds them of their mission. Their target is the hero who stole the holy sword, and that they must be careful. Catalaya says that despite the fact that they were given a most dangerous task, we need to be calm. She is a high-ranking knight of the Kingdom of Kit. Catalaya Rayek. Tora says to the girl, addressing her at first as an older sister but hesitating. The commander said, as she was asked. The girl looks at Tora with a cold gaze and asks her a question. Is she ignoring her authority? The girl was a little scared of her gaze, saying that not at all. Behind everyone carrying a large load, a girl walks. Catalhanga calls her by her name Ahara. Behind everyone there is a girl. She is a knight of unknown origin from the Kingdom of Kit. She says Palm is high-ranking, but Catalia says that this is not so. She laughs like a bitch. The girl was demoted to a low-ranking knight because she failed to kill Blam at one time. Her name is Frederica, a low-ranking knight. Also, the girl got punished. She was in a very piquant position, receiving blows, and now she became a companion of Catalblaya to atone for her guilt. She understands that she is really guilty. She not only failed the task, but also allowed her subordinates to die, and she is the only survivor. She believes that her family is right. Since she is a member of the House of Palms, she must erase this shame from herself. The girl is determined. She intends to get the head of the traitor Blam Dilmond, restoring the honor of her family. They all continue on their way. While the monster noticed them, Blam and El see them through some kind of mirror. Blam talks about the armor of the Night Kingdom, and says that before he came here, he spent the night in the Henkel and Kella. He says that he planned to stay in one house without attracting any attention, but someone sniffed him out. It seems it was in a village called Henkel, the closest village to the dungeon. Looking at them through the mirror, he says that it is possible, but nothing can be done. Elang says that by doing his job, he can turn this little disadvantage into an advantage, right? Blam takes the negative emotions collection box and smiles. The protagonist says, "Of course, partner," and declares that he will never let anyone take anything from him again. Blum remembers his friend who collapsed without strength. He says that things are going much better for us, but still asks Al if he is okay. Blam is going to extract the negative energy from them, stating that, "Oh, it's a shame they aren't proud warriors." If he paints them with shame, the oven will definitely turn black. Blam says he likes it, and El says it will be wonderful. And then, El, as if coming to his senses, gets down to business. That it's time without unnecessary fuss. With the traps that they received from the ritual earlier, let's catch some victims. Blum looks at him dumbfounded. Seeing his insidious look, he makes sure that everything is okay with him, and this is definitely El. Meanwhile, 13th basement floor, Catalia says, "What are you playing?" The girl is riding some kind of wooden toy pony. Her legs were already in shackles. The girl is confused, thinking about her honor. A high-ranking knight approaches her and is perplexed. As soon as she was left alone in the vanguard, she immediately fell into a trap. The girl has no words, because she was the one who brought her here. And she made her carry luggage with 5 suitcases, provoking her that she was impatient to him, and also made her be our vanguard in a state of a ruined mind. The girls tell her that she did not stretch her legs. They think they can bring her back to reality. They spray water on her, but notice that they will waste their water reserves. Mia asks her to get off there immediately. They tell her to do it. "Come on, get off." But it seems like she's not doing it well. She's positioned on this wooden pony, and she's screaming like she's fine. She can't get off, making sounds as if she is pleased. At the same time, Catalcheria thinks that this is what she deserves. Considering that she is just a girl who has achieved a high position thanks to her family, now she will know her place. The girl notes that, according to the information they received in Henkel, the nature of the dungeon has changed from murder to shame and humiliation, which turned out to be true. Blam walks through the dungeon. Catalphia thinks that the ruler of the dungeon has returned. She does not know who her ruler is. She has no doubt that he is a human, and he probably sits just like her. Otherwise, he would have started to come up with traps to humiliate a human. Catalia looks at Frederica and smirks, saying, "Foo foo foo." Tora thinks to herself, killing Blama Dilmond. If Missy succeeds, the elder sister will become the first knight leader of the order, and with all that said, it's already a very realizable dream. But even at such a time, she still allows her predatory fetishes to arise. Suddenly someone comes, saying that there is no other way. Elbian is holding some kind of flask with an image of Catalkea, and also for the sake of the older sister, the girls turn around in shock. Tashera says that with all due respect, but she thinks that they don't have time for such things. She says that even the combat power of a low-ranking knight's palm will be useful, and if she bends even more then. Catleia tells Torre that she knew that she was an irreplaceable knight to her. However, no one wants to have a figure that will jump around and do whatever it wants, and asks her, "Don't you agree?" She adds that she always hated the boomerang rule, but if it was none other than Tora, then she probably did it for her sake, and she forgives the girl. Veronica tells Tora about her mistake. Tora tells her not to worry, she didn't do it for her. However, the girl says that this does not change the fact that she helped her, and she asks to accept her sincere gratitude. The girl looks at her meaningfully and with embarrassment. Catalia tells them to hurry up and get ready. Suddenly, someone walks straight towards them and asks if she has played with the horse yet. Blam himself comes out of the shadows. The team leader asks who he is. Veronica, with trepidation in her eyes, shows her finger and says this, "It's Blam Dilmond." And so, the warriors and the former hero finally meet. We are shown Blam's unknown past. Some man tells him to kill a rabbit. Blam was still very young then. He replies that he doesn't want to do it. However, the 3 men tell him that if he does not do this, they will kill all his friends in the shelter. They put pressure on him, saying, "He doesn't want this to happen, does he?" With the holy sword, in the kingdom of Kit, they choose boys to break their humanity and turn them into killing machines. They are called heroes. That was the plan, to create a hero. And among all the heroes created was Blam Dilmond. Catlan Choya says, it's time to put everything aside. They are not in the best situation now. Once they all work together as one team. And why did everything end up this way now? Suddenly our main character for some reason starts running away. The girl screams why he is running away and that she will not let him escape, to which Blam only smiles coldly. The girls stand in bewilderment. The girls reason that they don't understand Blam's actions because he just appeared in front of them and ran away. Is it possible that he was afraid to fight against 5? One of the knights immediately suggested. But the other girl replies that this is not so, otherwise he would not have appeared in front of them. Cattleya didn't lose her head. Anna analyzes the situation, thinking what he has planned. Surely, he wants to lure them into a trap. The girl thinks that he clearly underestimates them. The girl notes that his thirst for blood and frightening aura are incredible. She has a feeling that if she is even a little distracted, he can easily kill her. Cattleya was prepared for this. When she entered the dungeon, his title of hero was clearly not for show. Beads of sweat run down her face. She assures that despite his strength, this does not mean that she does not have a single chance of winning. Now she has an enchanted sword. The girls rush forward to attack our protagonist. Cattleya adds that they are her shields. Blam runs away from them. At the same time, someone is addressing him by his amulet. The thing is that this amulet is a magical instrument with which you can communicate as if by telephone. Elga asks Blama, what is this? He did the right thing after all. The guy replies that luring them into traps is too much trouble. The blonde reminds him that he can always use his power. The blonde reminds that his hobby is making erotic traps, but Blam himself can collect negative energy in his own way. The guy runs, and he tells him, I was the sword destined to kill the demon lord. He tells him that thanks to El, he was able to fulfill this duty, that the credo of killing the enemy and asking questions later is long gone. As long as there is life and hope, the fewer corpses the better, they declare in unison. El says that this has always been his prized motto. True, to which Blam tells him to shut up. They all came here to take revenge. The damage caused by the monsters has diminished, and the war against the Empire is currently in the process of being settled. But if the society finds out that the hero is opposing the royal family, it could lead to chaos. Frederica is determined, so determined that her skirt is always slipping down. She is ready to do anything for the kingdom, for the people. She, as a member of the Palms, must solve these problems at any cost, she firmly repeats. And then the girl stops and sees a Blama. The guy looks at her. It seems to him that he has seen her somewhere before. Cattleya says, are they done playing tag? The girls think he's a cowardly ass who only runs away. The leader of the female knights team says, with a smirk, great patriot, Mr. Hero. I guess Veronica doesn't understand what's going on. They see the guy's gaze. His gaze was unusually cold. The guy who once saved the world. The guy who used to be everyone's hope. Why are his eyes full of disappointment? He just smirks and says, who cares about things from the past? He tells the girls that what's more important now is how they're going to overcome their current difficulties, and says it's time to move on to the next phase, asking them if they agree. Suddenly, tentacles crawl out from under the ground. The girls are shocked. They don't understand what it is. Is it really a trap? The guy confirms the girls' fears. He says that these are magical creatures that sense their victims by touch, stating that if you don't touch them, nothing will happen. But if you touch them, they will eat you. Frederica was horrified. Then Blam adds that they are just plants, and they just absorb liquid. They don't have fangs or claws, and they will rip their bodies apart or suck out their blood. Either way, will it be able to eat you? The girls are shocked. Assessing the situation, they wonder, does this mean they can absorb all bodily fluids such as sweat, tears, and the girls, without finishing speaking, simply screamed in horror. And the guy says that they got it right, and that this thing will be the subject of their shameful experience. Blam thinks their reaction is impressive. El will probably be pleased, but still, he says that he is not a demon, he understands them, saying that it is not like this punishment can be avoided. He knows that they are just following orders, which are difficult to contradict. He tells them, if they forget everything and go home without revealing his location. Then a clearly displeased Cattleya stood behind, while Frederica listened attentively to Blam's words. Cattleya gives a girl a good kick. Everyone was shocked. Blam looked at her with a serious look. Frederica was thrown into a desperate situation, straight to the tentacles. Cattleya seemed to not care. She just smiled at everything that was happening. And that's it. Frederica was swallowed up by the sea of tentacles. Even Blam was a little puzzled by such an action of the leader of the female group of knights. The girl is already enveloped in tentacles. She asks the monster not to touch her. Meanwhile, Tora looks at her with an ambiguous look, and the leader of the group only smiles. Cattleya draws her own conclusions, as she had assumed, that it is simply a plant without intelligence, a plant that reaches for the light, and as long as there is bait in front of it, it will go to it no matter what. Leaving a gap, the girl assured. Cattleya says it's time to go, because a low-ranking knight sacrificed himself for our survival, and we should take advantage of this opportunity. Blam doesn't show his face yet. What emotions curbed him? Tora wanted to intervene. saying that it doesn't matter how you look at it, it's just. Catalea interrupts her, saying that it's time for her to look at things sensibly. The others happily move on, and even tease her. Catalea declares to Torre, the only one, and she behaves like a bitch. I hope everything will be more or less okay with her. Get into trouble with a low-ranking knight, or go and defeat Blama Dilmond, asking her what she thinks is the priority now. Tora was saddened. She apologizes to the low-ranking Ratsats, telling her that they will save her once they complete their mission. Kat Goya thinks that now is the time to take care of Torre too, realizing that she most likely won't survive the battle against Blam Dilmond. At the same time, Blam hasn't shown his face yet, but he looks angry. It feels like he's gonna start killing, and killing hard. The leader of the knights turns to Blamu with the words, "Well, this time you will keep me company," stating that the last thing she can do is die for me, said Cattle about Frederica, who fell into a trap. The guy says he doesn't like it, that they're doing business just like those bastards from the royal capital, and that it makes him sick. Cattle Carrier replies that he's acting like a little child. Despite being a hero, she smirks as she says these words. She says that it's so unexpectedly cute and that she likes this childishness. He tells her to shut up. He takes the sword. The girl immediately has a slightly downcast face, saying here he is. He rushes into the attack. The girl only adds that this is his weakness. The girl just smirks. On the way to Katlamea, the guy's path is blocked by two deuces of Mia, and judging by everything, Kate, Mia, as usual, mispronounces the hero's name, and the other lady corrects her. They tell him to get lost, his fucking bastard, while Cattle Shueya calls on her magic, saying the following words. "Oh light, become a sword strong as a mighty army," apparently an analog of Elsa, only the brunette is preparing to attack. However, Blam sends Mia and Tora flying with one movement, leaving them no chance. Tora screams in horror. Blam stands in his hero pose. He gave off an incredibly cool aura. She thinks it's impossible. He defeated them with one blow. As Catalea finished her preparations for battle, her sword sparkled with either lightning or fire. Once again, the Espada Fury is ready for battle. Blam, seeing her sword, says it's an enchanted sword. Isn't it? There's no one on the continent who could wield it except Cattle Choya Ryak, right? The girl was flattered that the hero Blam knows about her, and she laughs contentedly. It's an honor for her that he knows her, she states. She tells him that he is right. Yes, she is Cattle Flya Ryak. She and Tora rush to attack. Katlakoya screams that she is the woman who will kill him. The guy easily parries Tora's blow, preparing to kick her. Cattle Kalea says, "With this sword you can cut that horrible trap." Blam says, "Why is she using that red-haired girl as bait?" She replies with a bitch look that there is no reason, she just doesn't want her sword to touch that dirty thing. The blows of Blama and Catelia collide. Are they equal? The girl was surprised, noticing that the power of the enchanted sword was dispelled by this light. They bounce off each other. The girl speaks in her thoughts, "This is the power of the sacred sword." At that moment, the maid says that the tea is hot enough. Al smiles, saying that Blum's illness has reappeared. Irene asks the blonde boy, clarifying what was said. "Did you say illness?" He explains to her that he was made into a hero and forced to fight the demon lord. He was made into a sacrifice of sorts to save humanity, so for him to act like them is unforgivable. Al says that this is called the syndrome of the inability to abandon victims in trouble, and he says this with some kind of crooked smile. After saying these words, Irene looks at him angrily. Blamdeja, his sword, says that to be honest, he was really worried. He tells her that being angry at her when she likes him would be illogical, since he was the one who made her that way. He remembers her words that she wouldn't want her sword to touch that dirty thing, and it seemed like he understood something. He tells her that it's really illogical, but even so, it pisses him off, so for fun, he points his sword at her and loudly declares that he will make her cry. Katnal Toya only smiles at his words, while Tora tries to recover from his blow. At that time, Frederica was trapped in the tentacle monster's trap and was confused. She wondered what was going on. This man was unhappy with how I was treated. Why was he doing this for his enemy? She is subjected to the torture of tea making and wonders if the one who did this to her is her ally. During the process of tea making, the girl could no longer think. She did not understand anything. Again, some little animal, a guy in prison, and they ask him to kill him. Fighting against two girls, the guy is angry at himself. Why is he remembering this now? The maid notes that their commander is quite good, and Elle, drinking tea, says that even though they are fighting 2 against 1, it impresses him that they have held out against Blom for so long. Irene asks if it's because Blom is holding back from killing them. Elle says yes, that's also true, but they There's another reason, maybe the Catalgoya sword is involved too. He tells her that, as you already know, Blom has the ability to resist magic, which means that his resistance to magic is simply incredible. Accordingly, magical attacks, healing magic, and of course teleportation magic, all magical effects for him will be reduced by half. But this method only works outside his body and does not work inside it, i.e., there is no resistance to magic inside him. The maid looks at Al with a puzzled look while the blonde explains that if a sword enchanted with lightning magic pierces him with a slash or a penetrating blow, this means that even for a Blam, this will be a deadly attack. And that's why he's careful with counterattacks, because he knows that she's stronger than the previous ones. Elle watches their battle. Noticing her intelligence, she attacks only when she can use her subordination as a shield. Most likely, she keeps that girl only as a pawn, which she can easily get rid of at any time. In other words, she is just a pawn. Elle realizes that this makes Blam furious. Blam casts a spell, "Oh Light," and attacks with an attack called Explosive Spear of Light. "Strike!" he screams. The guy thinks to himself that he's not going to hit, he's going to use this blow as a feint, and he's going to start over. The more time the fight goes on, the more he hates her. But he still decided that he will not kill this stubborn girl. Even if it is stupid, he will just beat this evil woman and wipe that smirk off her face. During the fight, the girl thinks that Blam is much better than she thought. And even if they have an advantage now, it is better not to delay with him. The enchanted sword deals powerful attacks, but because of this, it quickly loses strength. She doesn't know how much longer it will last. Catalea thinks that now might be the time to do it. Tora attacks Blama, also acting as bait. Blam, reflecting Tora's blow, thinks that it's strange that Catalea doesn't attack. Is she really planning something? He looks at her with bewilderment. Is she gathering the power of the sword on its tip? He thinks that, only not. She says it's her secret weapon and it allows her to shoot magical energy that I enchanted the sword with. The attack is called Explosive Release. She screams, "Die, both of you!" Blam kicks Toru away. The girl with a distraught face says, "So this is how far you are willing to go." And he takes the whole blow on himself. It seems that Blam is in pain from this blow. Elle says, "Oops, this could be the end." The maid made a sad face. She looks at Blam, who just took an incredible hit of electric force. She clenched her hands and said his name, Blam herself, as if to say, "Don't die." Blam's childhood comes to mind again. Some guy tells him that the Demon Lord is a master of magic, and if he dies from magic of this level, you are useless. Little Blam screams, "It's hot, it hurts." Enough! But he calmly tells his subordinates to continue, telling them that they will not be allowed to stop until the sword is ready, and they continue to attack him with their attacks, apparently tempering the Blama in such a brutal way. Little Blam was tortured with attacks. Just like muscles grow from exercise, resistance to magic grows when magic is used on someone, but those bastards who tortured him used magic to almost kill him and then healed him again. They did it every day, thousands, tens of thousands of times. Blam stands up and says that it hurt a bit. Elle says that it seems that the enchanted sword did not release enough energy, and it is not enough to kill Blam. The maid is covered in a smile. Catalea was amazed, because this can't be. She claims that she fired a charge of force that would be enough to instantly kill even a tiger. He tells her, he may be weaker than the tiger, but he is the one who killed the Demon Lord. And now that she has spent all her energy, the girl was on guard. It looks like she is finished. Quote, "The girl will no longer be able to defend herself from Blam's attacks." Blam points his sword straight at her girl, while the Catalkaya herself was pinned to the wall. The aftermath of the fight with women, everything finally became calm. Blam went to save the victim, because the syndrome is that you can't leave victims alone. He thought like this: you can't leave, I can't leave. And of course, punishment was needed to collect negative energy, and they entrusted this to the leeches. The cattle Maya itself will undergo the process of teconization, a little about the magic leeches, also known as milk-sucking worms, survive by feeding on mammalian matter. They attach themselves to the nipple of the victim and begin their own hard process of teconization. The girl asks in confusion why these worms are so. She asks Kate to do something, who is now also actively involved in the tea-making process. But she answers Mia that she is asking her to do something impossible. She can no longer do anything. Kate passed out safely, and the girls continue to drink tea, taking puffs for their sins. Blam approaches the girl he saved. She was fully clothed. She was interested in what was happening there now. The guy realizes that since the tentacles have evaporated, they have finished feeding her tea. Blamu felt like he knew her from somewhere. And what surprised him even more was that even despite what she had gone through, she still came back for him, but nevertheless she was very depressed. Ella interrupts Blama, telling him not to forget to extract the negative magic from her. Blam asks if she will be okay if he drains the negative energy from her. Because she is in bad shape, if she dies, she will leave him with a bad taste in his mouth. Elle tells him not to worry. He tells Blam that negative energy is created in the process of changing emotions in a negative direction, but the process itself does not change her heart or mind. In other words, the collection of energy will not affect either one. The process of absorbing negative energy has begun. Blam looks at all this with some kind of uncomprehending look. Blam screams that something huge is coming out of her. And Elshana says that yes, he also sees for the first time that so much negative magic comes out of one person. Blam thinks that the amount of energy is actually bad. The fact that so much energy came out of her suggests that her mind's defenses are greatly weakened and her heart is breaking down. He thinks that her heart is probably made for. Blam looks at the girl with pity. The guy lowered his head. A voice sounds through the magic item, saying that Blam probably won't be able to leave her, since she was used as a sacrifice. The hero admits that this is true. He says he doesn't like the whole sacrifice and hero thing, and he has his reasons for it. Elki says to put heroes on that list, that's who you are. However, the blonde guy, because of the guy's honesty, tells him he'll think of something. Blam wonders what we can do. Elle says the best thing to do is give her someone to rely on, and advises him to give her a few compliments and seduce her. The couple are confused. Seduce her? It sounds kind of disgusting. It sounds like I'm gonna brainwash her. Geralt answers, you talk dirty, and he says that he starts to blush, and Blam answers him, that's not a compliment. Elle tells Blam that he knows very well what the victims experience, and persistently offers the guy to brainwash her. He approaches the girl and gives her his sweater. The girl looks at him, barely squeezing out his name. The guy points his finger at her and says, hey you! The girl is confused. The guy was gonna help her. She says, why I'm your enemy, but Blam replies that it has nothing to do with whether you're my friend or enemy. She says that Catalpoya woman herself made you go through all this. He won't forgive her. He also remembers the man who tortured him, and says that he would like someone who can resist them. The guy tells her, you may be my enemy, but he doesn't care who it is, and what I say. He shouts at her that he is her ally. He states that he just needed someone to be his ally. The guy looks at her and smiles, while a lot of thoughts flash through the girl's head. Comrade, what is he saying? He won't be able to forgive Catalperia? He set these traps, and now he wants to help me. He betrayed the royal family, and because we failed to kill you. She remembers her last meeting with him and asks why, in that meeting, he didn't kill her. And before he was angry with me, she smiles, telling herself that she understands everything. She smiles shyly and says that he was kind to her. The guy thinks to himself with relief that it looks like he managed to save her from danger, for now. He says that this is not his at all, saying that it is even worse than Catalhoya magic. The guy asks the girl what her name is, because she did not tell him her name. The girl says her name is Frederica Palm. The guy asks her again, Frederica, really? Telling her it's a cool name. The girl asks if it's true. There is some guy standing there, and it turns out that some shocking truth has been revealed connected with Frederica. Because her father seems to be Valko Palm, the man who tortured our main character. This was the same man who made him into a killing machine, Hero. Also the man who almost burned him to death, leaving him half dead, well, and the man who threatened to kill friends who were like family to him. The guy was taken aback. It felt like he was overcome with strong rage. Quote, he asks her, quote, are you a relative of Van Cleef Palm, the person towards whom my hatred is so strong? The girl is perplexed, but she answers with a smile on her face that Van Cleef Palm is her father. The guy, to put it mildly, was dejected by such a statement. The Palm family is the sword that protects the kingdom. They are the most prestigious aristocrats of the Keitha, and their leader is Van Cleef Palm. The guy seems to remember his stern look. For a moment he was enveloped in various emotions. Frederica asks him if everything is okay with him. He answers that yes, everything is okay, but asks her to turn away for a while until he calms down. The guy was suddenly enveloped in such hatred, realizing that in front of him was a girl from a family that made him a non-entity. The guy had a desire to kill her. He pulls out his sword and swings it at the unsuspecting girl with the words, I'll kill. But suddenly, just before he swings, he is interrupted by Al's voice, telling him if he really wants to do this. The guy stopped. Beads of sweat were running down his face. Al says that he also knows about the Palm family and their connection to Blam. Al adds that if he kills her for his own relief, he won't blame him. No one can blame him. The guy, in a state of semi-shock, asks Al, "But you don't want this yourself, am I right?" The protagonist stops abruptly, thrusting his sword into the floor. He caught his breath a little. It was very difficult for him to hold back. He thinks that if he does this to her, he will become for himself. Many beads of sweat roll down his face. He tells himself that he needs to pull himself together and wonders, after all, badness isn't hereditary, right? As if he's asking himself that. The guy put two hands on his head, and he is actively thinking, for example, although she belongs to the Palm family, but she is just an idiot who could not kill him, her death will also express his anger. It is clearly not her who should be blamed. Al, who is watching all this, thinks that this is good. Al looks at his friend, saying, "What a troublesome and kind-hearted person you are, Blam." After this, our heroes left the torture intended for Katnamaya and the rest of Frederick.